Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to an exciting panel discussion themed The Future of Work Cloud, Need for Women to Reskill, Network, and Grow. Year 2020-21 has been unprecedented for all of us, but with every challenge comes new opportunities. We are seeing that organizations globally across industries have realized that accelerating their digital transformation will help them anticipate, adapt, disrupt, and emerge stronger. Cloud plays a very significant role during such transformation journeys. It is also important that our women folks upskill, network, and grow to be able to be part of this transformation journey along with our clients. And that's why today's topic is so relevant to all of us. I have a group of esteemed leaders from IBM and Red Hat who will share their perspectives with us. So without further ado, let me quickly introduce the guests. So I'll start with Anuj Malhotra, who's Senior Partner, Client Services Leader, Service Lines and Operations, IBM Consulting, Client Innovation Center, India. Anuj leads IBM's practices globally across all CICs. His role includes personal ownership and direction to all technology practices and garages labs at the largest IBM Client Innovation Center, which is India. He is also the operations leader for the center in India and owns all related functions, be it business operations, resource management, learning knowledge, reskilling, etc., etc. Welcome, Anuj, to this panel.
Thanks, Chitra. Good to see you.
Same here. I go on to our next panelist, who's Amita Roy, Chief Technology Officer, Red Hat, India, South Asia. Amita heads the Solution Architecture team for Red Hat ISA and is responsible for providing technical leadership and direction to a team engaged with clients and partners to bring the power of open source technologies to enterprises. Prior to Red Hat, Amita led the solution consulting teams at Oracle India. Amita has also spent several years at IBM in client-facing roles. In her last role at IBM, she was leading the technical sales and services teams across IBM's software portfolio of analytics, IoT, commerce, security, cloud, etc. Welcome, Amita, to the panel discussion.
Thank you, Chitra, and hi, everyone.
Okay, our third panelist is A.B. Vijaykumar. He is an IBM Distinguished Engineer and CTO for Hybrid Cloud Management, IBM Consulting. He is an IBM Master Inventor who has more than 58 patents filed in his name. He has more than 22 years of experience in IBM and recognized as a subject matter expert for his contribution to advanced mobility in automotive and has led several implementations involving complex industry solutions. He is a multifaceted personality. So if you go to his LinkedIn, you will find what I sort of said just now. But actually, he also publishes books and he publishes music albums as well. So welcome, AB, to this panel.
Hey, thanks, Chitra.
Okay.
It's nice to be on this forum.
Same here. Last but not the least, we have Santosh Prasad, who is partner and service line leader, hybrid cloud transformation, Client Innovation Center, IBM Consulting. Santosh is skilled at leading large and high performance IT teams across the globe. He has achieved consistent success in transforming business problems into technology solutions and supporting clients' efforts to make their business units more effective and efficient. Welcome, Santosh, to the panel.
Thank you, Chitra, and hello to all.
Okay, so what we will do in the course of the next 40 minutes or so is, I have a few questions for each one of you. So I will direct the questions to specific panelists, but you can also add your own perspective if you have anything more to add. We will end with a rapid fire round, which will enable us to know a little bit more about yourself. So I will start with Anuj first. Okay with you, Anuj?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so Anuj, as a service line leader in CIC India, you have grown cloud practices. And this has been a year of growth for us. Can you tell us a little bit more in detail how you are hiring and reskilling our practitioners so that we are able to keep up to the clients' transformation journeys in this space?
Yeah, I think it's been a very, very interesting year, right? I mean, we have not seen demand like this in our history. We will, by the time we finish the year at the center level, grow by about 40% net in headcount, right? A significant part of that is coming from all the stuff that we do with hyperscalers, right? So a significant intake of talent that is coming from across the hyperscalers, that's coming from Red Hat, that's coming from all the technologies connected with this, right? And it's been a very, very exciting year, right? But besides taking in people laterally in volumes that we've never known before, I think one of the other things we have been doing for quite some time now is picking resources who are in the so-called legacy skills and bring them out into the cloud skills. Basically, a very, very extensive reskilling program. We have a reskilling team. That reskilling touches about 40% of our employee base every year, where we look at trainings that have to be imparted for any of the platforms that we have to impart in, a fairly structured program, usually ending with the certification, which is also something that we finance, especially from our center perspective. So a lot of that is happening now, where we are both hiring laterally and building, and we are also upskilling and reskilling our resources to play in the cloud world, which has become a fairly exciting world. We also have, sandboxes. So once we train people, we have them certified, we have a place for them to go and play with the technology under the mentorship of some of our senior architects and people like AB, right, guiding the team on saying how and well, how do they apply the technology that they've learned, client situations they can work through and all that. So it's been a pretty exciting time, both in terms of growing and scaling the practices we have, and also looking forward to the depth of practices that we're building right now across all hyperscalers.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anuj. So I'll move to Amita now. So Amita, you have had a very diverse and checkered career as you have got to the CTO of Red Hat ISA. In the course of that journey, I am sure you have broken many barriers, glass ceilings. So can you share with us some real examples how you have really done this?
So every time I hear the word glass ceiling, and this is something that I have applied in my own career and as well to women that I mentor and manage some of them, is where is exactly the glass ceiling? One needs to really think about it, whether it is in your mind or it actually exists. Very important to differentiate, because I'm not trying to undermine the fact that there definitely is some amount of social and culture bias that can creep into the workplace, but one really needs to think about it. And that other word that you use, right, in terms of barriers, where exactly are those barriers? Quite often we will hear voices that say you're not good enough, you're not talented enough, you're not skilled enough, you're not educated enough, you don't have the right connections, and so on and so forth. But what is important to really consider is, where are those voices coming from? Is it your own inner voice that is telling you that, or is it someone else that's telling you? Once you figure that out, then breaking those barriers becomes easy, right? Either you work on yourself to get that confidence, or you work on disproving the people that tell you that this is not possible, right? So that's the way I have at least worked on my career, in the way I have progressed. And that is to constantly challenge myself to be able to take on newer challenges, because when you take on newer challenges, you're forced to come out of a comfort zone. And if you were stuck in a rut, then even better, right? You come out of it, and then you get a chance to learn new skills and apply those skills. I won't say it has been a cakewalk, definitely through the course of anyone's career, right? Gender irrespective, there will be those times when you will stop and introspect if this is the way you want to go. And there are those times when you'll prioritize certain, aspects that may get priority over your career. So, so what is important is to be able to be resilient enough to be able to bounce back and be able to take on those new assignments that will challenge you. And then, I would also say that one must be prepared to fail. If you're going to take those new challenges, then, there is bound to be, sometimes when you will fail, you will feel discouraged. But I personally believe that those experiences are the one that will finally help you, arrive at situations in your life where you can make good judgment. Because unless you have experienced failure, you don't know what is right from wrong, right? What is good judgment from bad judgment. So, and the other thing I would advise to all the women listening in is that you have to be ready to take on that next job. What is that next progression in your career? Be ready to take that up, because if you keep waiting till you are going to have all the right circumstances, skills and situation and everything, it'll be too late. Somebody else would have taken it up, right? So those are some of the things that have worked for me. And then I've also realized that it's not just what you do that matters, but the results matter. The results matter a lot, because you have to not only work hard, but you have to work smart as well. And you have to maximize the impact of whatever you're doing. And when you get that, and when you do that, then automatically, your reputation builds, your brand builds, and that becomes an anchor for further opportunities in your career. So I don't want to sound too preachy, but these are some of the things that have worked. And if it resonates with people in the audience, it might work for them as well.
Thank you so much, Amita. So I took 4 lessons. Get your next job, step out of your comfort zone, be resilient, and learn from failures. I think that was a very important thing, and drive outcomes, right? And I hope all the ladies out there are listening and taking notes. Okay, so we'll move to AB right now. So I always have toughest questions for AB. So AB, you are leading IBM's mission to help women professionals embrace technology and take up senior technical roles, architect roles. So what will be the top 3 things you suggest to our women audience that will set them up for success in their technical careers?
Okay, so there are some of the stuff that I'm going to say are generic, but one specific for women. What I am seeing, especially in India, is a lot of women think taking up a technical career is very challenging, right? So it will be very difficult to manage work-life balance and all that. Trust me, it's the same whether it is management role or a technical role, right? So I think that myth has to be broken. In fact, technical, I feel, is more within our control, right? So at least you know what you are doing and what you're supposed to be doing. So I think you should break that myth and take up challenging technical roles. I strongly encourage all my, especially women mentors, to step in. You will figure it out. It's not a big deal, right? So apart from that, what I am seeing more and more is there's a full stack mindset now. So we have stopped calling technical people as this guy is a web technology guy, that guy is a data scientist, this guy is, because in the world of cloud, you take up any cloud certification you have to do, you better know everything in it. You need to know how to store data, how you need to know NoSQL, you need to know SQL, you need to know networking, how do you do, right? So when I say full stack, I mean the capability wise, the breadth of the technology that we need to learn now is much broader than what it was maybe 5 years back. And the depth of technology is, I can't be an application guy anymore. I have to understand where is this application going to be running, because accordingly I have to write the code. So I need to know what is the platform on which it is going to run. It doesn't stop there. I need to know what is the kind of CPU hardware that I'm going to run, right? Because it's all software defined now. So everything is code now, right? So So that way it is, according to me, this whole generation of software is back to being very technical, right? So you have to be technical, and I'm sure managers are also being challenged to go more and more towards learning. I have seen a lot of managers doing certifications, which is really good, right? So I've never seen that 5 years back, but now I see even managers going for AWS certifications and various cloud certifications. I think that is point number two. Point number three is I'm making it sound very complex, but it is not, right? So point number three is there has to be some understanding of the finance, right? So being technical, 5 years back, I used to write Java code. I don't care where it is going to run, how it's going to run, right? But as we move towards cloud, I need to be conscious of how much of CPU and RAM I'm going to use, which technology I'm choosing, which runs faster. Should I go serverless? Should I go container? The choice of technology is also driven through the promises we make to our clients in terms of how much money I will save for you, or how much money I'm going to use to run your it's very, very, if you see most of the cloud certifications, you are supposed to don't know the FinOps part of it, the financial operations of it, and how do you bill it, how do you meter it, and things like that. So again, very, very challenging. And last point is, again, domain is the king, right? So you have to understand what is the client's domain, and that takes you a long way in your technical career. In my personal experience, I've seen that a guy who talks just technology versus a person who talks technology in the context of business, I always feel the person who talks business and understands business flourish in his or her career further, right? So these are the 4 points that I would like to touch upon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ibi. So I'll move next to Santosh. So Santosh, we hear a lot about cloud certifications now. And I also know that you are doing a lot of hiring for IBM. So when you really go into these hiring interviews, how important is the certifications that you look for?
Thanks, Chitra, for this question. And this is a very pertinent question, given that the next 5 to 6 years will be a dream run for cloud technology. And this is also a question which is very close to my heart. AB talked about it, that everybody needs to now become technical, look at certifications, so on and so forth. So if you look at the recent report from NASSCOM, the cloud talent pool in India alone is expected to grow to nearly 1.5 million people by 2025. And we do thousands of interviews every month, and we see different kinds of people along the spectrum. On one side, we have people who do not have any certification, and they believe in building their knowledge by hands-on work on the job. And on the other side, there are people who learn a lot through the cloud certification. Personally, I would like to give weightage to the people who have certification. And this is basically due to 2 reasons. First, if you have really skilled yourself on cloud, a certification legitimizes your learning. Using certification, you can fill those gaps where you did not get a chance while you were working on a project. And second, the certification also gives a signal to the interviewer about your expertise, whether you are working on cloud platform engineering or DevOps or application development or cloud security. So this will give you the signal to the interviewer if you are interested in whichever part of cloud. And then there is a hyperscaler angle to it. Whether you are certified in AWS or Azure or IBM or Red Hat or Google, the interviewer can match you to the right position. So at IBM, we have a program called Certification Acceleration Program, using which we encourage anyone and everyone who wants to do a cloud certification, and one could do more than one certification. Yeah. So we have arranged boot camps for each of these certifications. This year, our certification count increased 4-fold to 25,000 cloud certifications. And one story that I would like to say is, we had a husband and wife who prepared together, challenged together, and they worked together towards this certification. And they had come on one of our calls, sharing their knowledge and how did they go about it. And it was quite inspiring. So we are getting a lot of response, and even I completed 5 certifications, one each in every cloud. So I would encourage everyone to take it big time. Cloud certifications are quite good, and they're also quite well arranged in terms of foundation, then associate, then professional, and then there is specialty. And there are lots and lots of online learning. Hence, go for it. This is our moment.
Thank you, Santosh. And I'm sure all the ladies watching have taken note that which certification they will go for now. Okay, so I'll come back to Anuj with the next question, and this is a little bit of segue from what Santosh said. So once upon a time, IBM used to be equated with mainframe, and then at one point it was also IBM equal to IBM Cloud. But in today's world, can you share with our audience that what is IBM's focus? Is it just IBM Cloud, or also it is all about other hyperscalers like AWS, Azure, GCP, and so forth? Any insights from you, Anuj?
Yeah, great question, Chitra. I think, look, we are IBM Consulting, right? We are cloud agnostic, right? Today, we have scale in pretty much any hyperscaler cloud that you can talk about, right? AWS, for example, we are a premier technology consulting partner. We have 10 competencies and 15 service designations in the partnership that we have, which is the highest, I guess, in any managed service provider around the world. Right? We also are a well-architected partner there. Extensive certifications. My friend and colleague Santosh talked about it. We've run extensive programs to up the certification volumes we have in the center across AWS as much as across the other platforms itself. Multiple clients that we work with in complex migrations, modernizations, lift and shift kind of jobs. Philips Carbon Black, Coaxwire, PMI, Delphi, you name it. Lots of great clients in AWS as well, right? And we obviously get also funding from our partnership with AWS, whether it's Market Development Fund or if it is a Partner Opportunity Acceleration Fund, and all kinds of support from AWS. Move from there to Azure. Again, I think 17 competencies that we have with them in the gold level, right? Again, a big partnership with Microsoft. My friend Santosh was talking about it. We actually did in about 4 weeks, I'm not remembering the exact number, but over about 17,000 certificates. I think 13,000 in 4 weeks. We ran a complete program on certifications around Azure earlier this year. No other partners done this around the world, right? 13,000 certifications in 4 weeks was an amazing hit that we had, right? Multiple clients, right? I mean, we had 100% growth in headcount. We had a 70% growth in architect pool. In Azure, we have 50 plus clients that we service today, Oriflame, Etihad, Western Foods, and many more, right? And we've been building competencies like you can't imagine before. I mean, now on, right? SAP or Azure Red Hat, OpenShift that we've been doing some work on, Azure Synapse, lots of other places. And go from there to Google again, right? Again, a premier partner with Google's GCP actually. Thousands of resources around the world that we have. And again, scaling up our differentiation with Google Cloud, right? IBM Power on GCP, SAP Impact on GCP, IBM security offerings on GCP. So this is an extensive piece of work that we run. Again, lots and lots of clients. One of the largest logistics company in North America, one of the largest banks in Europe, right? I think phenomenal amount of work across every hyperscaler that you can imagine. And again, not that we're not doing work with IBM Cloud. We do a lot of work with IBM Cloud as well. So it's been a very interesting, we at one point in time, people used to equate us to IBM Cloud. I think gone are those days, right? I mean, today we work across pretty much every hyperscaler that you can imagine and are doing that at scale and scaling further. I mean, if anybody on the call is looking to come and join, have any hyperscaler, capability, please raise your hand up. If you'll get sucked into the IBM pool very quickly. But I think it's a very interesting time, and we are working across. Like I said, we are technology agnostic or platform agnostic, and of course our friends at Red Hat, OpenShift, and Red Hat. I mean, it's been an amazing partnership with them as well as they've gone down this hybrid multi-cloud era basically. So it's well spread out now, Chitra, and lots of scaling going on in every cloud that's out there.
Thank you so much, Anuj. Impressive numbers. So I'll come back to Amita again. So Amita, the technology landscape is now really changing exponentially. So can you tell me that what do you think are the success measures? What are the skills for success if somebody really have to thrive, not just sustain, but thrive in this competitive environment? And since there are a lot of women listening in, if you can tell us a little bit about the skills which are for women, that will be of great help.
First of all, yes, the industry landscape is changing, technology landscape is changing. It's not just now. It's been like this, for several years, right? For example, when I was starting my career, I learned, writing code in Fox Pro and C. But very soon, I had to scale to C++. Okay, and that's when I heard something about object orientation and all that. And then it went to Java, which was a little different, right? But what I'm trying to say here is that the fundamentals will never go out of style. For years, okay, I was within IBM, the evangelist for rational software, okay, rational software engineering tools. And in order to get customers to understand UML and software engineering tools, we had to do a 4-day, training to tell them about object-oriented analysis and design, how to go about it from the time you get your requirements. I'm just thinking back sometimes now, because there were times when I would tell people you have to break your system into subsystems, okay? And then you have to expose the interface and you have to encapsulate the functionality. And this used to be, by the time we do this, it used to be the 4th day of the training. And by then, all the participants, their eyes would glaze over and they would know what the hell is she talking about, right? But today, I'm so fortunate that I'm still here to see the day when we are now, we graduated to say services-oriented architecture. Today, we are further saying that modularity, where we're talking about microservices architecture. So I'm saying the fundamentals never go out of style. So get your fundamentals right. If your fundamentals are right, picking up any technology along the way becomes so much more easier, because every technology is building on what has already happened before, right? Making it better and better and better, right? And then if I have to add, I think Vijay brought in some fantastic points, and which were also added on by Santosh and Anuj. But I completely agree that, get really good at it, get really deep, in whatever is your area, right? Obviously, you cannot be a master of, everything. But whichever is your chosen area, become really, really good at it, whatever it takes, right? To become really good at it, become that domain expert, become that go-to person, for everything, for that particular area of technology. Deepen your expertise, find out what is the way, the learning method that works best for you. For some people, it's podcast. For some people, it's reading. For some people, it is, trying and doing something in those sandboxes that Anuj was referring to, right? So different people have different ways of learning. Find out what works for you, and then get going at it. So while this is from a technology standpoint, the other aspect that you talked about, which in addition to the domain part that Vijay talked about, I think, people have to get a lot more strategic, okay, in terms of understanding which way this industry is heading, what is the newer thing that's going to happen. These are the things that our clients want to hear from us, not the things that they can search in Google and find for themselves, right? So, how can then, you be more strategic? How can you build your influence? Influence is very important, right? And that influence, has to be that whole scope of what you're addressing, right? There are times when we have to get our point across to complete strangers. How are you able to do that influence? And it has nothing to do with your position or title. It is everything to do with, how you, carry yourself. So that brings us to communication. How do you communicate? And how can you be really an effective communicator? And communication can be via email. It can be via, in person. It can be on a call. It can be via presentation. Okay. You should know when to do which, and that becomes a very important skill, right? And everybody will have their plate full, overflowing. I think a very important skill that women have to learn, and everybody, I would say, quite often when I say some of these things, it's never very gender specific, but women more so, have to learn to say no. There is not everything that you can do, and and somebody else may be the better person to do that. So point them to that, because along the way you'll pick up many skills. I told you I was that rational person, right? I was that go-to person for everything rational. And for many years after that, I had clients that would keep calling me. I had moved on to other things, right? So I had to point them to who's the right person, so you may be able to do it, but doesn't mean that you have to, right? So that's where, people can start differentiating themselves and, graduating, in their skill area, move from one strength to the other strength as they go along, their career journey. And everything, if cloud is, is where all clients are heading to, and more so now, especially after the pandemic, we're hearing more customers have taken on to cloud consumption, right? So much more easier to provision everything. Then pick those skills up. Don't stay, in your, safe cocoon where you are working. So these are some of the things I would advise.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Those were really, really insightful. So next question up for AB. So AB, you have a global role, right? This is not just an India specific role, and you are working across multiple industries. What are the top business challenges that our clients facing in today's world, which you are helping to solve through hybrid multi-cloud?
Yeah, I think very good question, but a long answer is it's difficult to give it in short time. But yeah, I'll try. Right. So some of the key points. Right. So one is it's also because of the pandemic. There is a sudden adaptation of digital, and because see everything that is manual is getting converted to digital now. Right. And the fastest way to go digital is cloud. Right. So pretty much every client is betting a lot on moving to cloud. And right now, if you talk to any client, what I realize is they have workloads on cloud. Some of them are cloud native. Some of them are just lifted and shifted onto the cloud. Some of them are running on-prem. So what is really ending up happening is because of this heterogeneous nature of the landscapes, their the base platform that they want to build, they are replicating it everywhere, right? So like you use a DevOps for cloud differently, you do a DevOps for on-prem separately, and there is no coordination between these two. Sometimes your backend is running on the cloud, but the front end is running somewhere else, right? And so these things are becoming very challenging. So I think the clients have started realizing they have to go back to the basics of having a very strong enterprise architecture governance across the enterprise. So which is very good for people like us, because that's where we need very strong enterprise complex system architects and all that, right? That is one thing I'm seeing. And second is, and the clients have a very limited budget for this transformation. So now, which means they are now thinking, should I squeeze my operational cost of running the applications and move more and more towards using that money for transforming the applications, which means there's a huge tendency towards automation. So there is a lot of digital worker mindset. There's a lot of one-click solutions that they are looking for. The clients are not bent upon a technology, but they are saying, I don't care as long as you give me as a service, right? So they don't care what is in the black box, but they want service. So which is moving more and more towards an outcome-based model, more towards as a service kind of a model, where the architecture is and the responsibility of software firms like IBM is becoming much broader than just doing a solution and running away from there, right? So you are supposed to provide a full stack managed services to the client, and provide the outcome that they're expecting. So there's a huge shift in the way the whole applications are now being built, the whole architectural thinking that we are applying. And from the business standpoint, pretty much cost has become the key, right? So how do you reduce the cost and increase the cost of ownership, right? I mean, reduce the cost of ownership and bring in more and more innovation. So innovation is kind of driven into the overall cycle, right? So that's a huge shift I see. Other than that, of course, hybrid cloud management, hybrid cloud, why we believe, and this is all not just the IBM, but worldwide we see that there are the new companies who can easily get onto the cloud and go 100% cloud native. But for large enterprises, while that is the dream, they cannot get rid of the applications that they have already built and throw them out of the window, right? So you need a model where you have some applications on public cloud, some applications which are running private, and they need to integrate with each other, right? So hybrid cloud is the solution, and we are betting a lot on Red Hat OpenShift to be our overall end-to-end platform, along with IBM Satellite, which actually extends all the way to the edge, right? So I think hybrid cloud is the reality. There is no extreme public cloud. There is no extreme private cloud. Of course, there are some industries like FSS who want to go complete extreme on the left because they want to be completely private. But even there, banks are opening up and saying, okay, I want to have my digital layer on top of on a cloud, right? So while I still have my core banking systems sitting in my data center because it's much easier, cheaper for me to manage that. So yeah, I mean, these are very, very good times, and it's kind of redefining the way we look at architecture, the way we look at solutions, because the clients are pushing us to the corner, saying, you know, it's all about numbers and the impact that you create.
Thank you so much, AB, and that's why we actually need a lot of talented people also to join IB, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Santosh, next question for you. So you have moved from across different roles, right? Very, very diverse roles, and you have been very, very successful. But I'm sure there has been setbacks, failures as well, right? So would you want to share any setback in your career journey and what you learned from that?
Okay, this is a very interesting question for me because I got my first setback quite late in life. I was good at academics. I did quite well in my engineering and MBA. But then the test, what's there in the book or in a case study, and it's a very familiar territory to tackle. My first setback came after I started working, and I'll share that story. I was part of a project where we were trying to wean away from a mainframe and AS400 based supply chain systems to a new SAP system. And most of the migration was code rewrite from older COBOL to ABAP, PL SQL, and Java. And everything was working fine after the go live, except when we found that some of the most critical interfaces wouldn't run due to performance issues. And the messages got piled up in the system, and the finished product got piled up on the shop floor. There were trucks waiting, and this created a lot of problems for the business, and the users came knocking on our doors. And to our utter surprise, we even couldn't locate the source code of that interface program. It was as if some alien had written it long back and gone away. And it was all socket programs written in C, quite difficult and esoteric to understand. So, and we had kind of overlooked it. And it created a damage of more than 500,000 every day. So we really didn't know what to do, but our team had faith. And we came together as a team. We said, we will all together overcome that setback. And for the next 1 month, we managed that interface manually, night and day, manually moving files from system to system, till we wrote that brand new interface program. So one thing was very clear for all of us. If we persist together as a team, we'll succeed. And thereafter, I had many setbacks in life. Once I even lost a big deal of 50 million. But then every setback teaches you something. And setbacks are very, very important part of life. I think Amita talked about it in that class ceiling thing, where how we learn from mistakes is what we looked at. Okay, what I would suggest is whatever you have encountered so far as setbacks, rank them from 0 to 100. 0 for a minor setback and 100 for a real catastrophe. And then reflect back on each one of them as to what have you learned from them. And then you'll realize that if you could survive the worst ones, you can survive many more. And the setbacks will make you very resilient and also help you move from your comfort zone. So, and then you'll realize that at every stage, your skill levels will keep improving. So just be resolved and be persistent. When the big moments will come, you will do well.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Santosh. I think this was a really personal story, and thanks for sharing it with us. So I have, a couple of questions, one for Anuj and one for Amita before I move to the fun questions. So Anuj, we see that many women drop out of the workforce during, some of the times in a women's, life journey, right? So there are some life events when they have to drop off. But we also know that we are really losing talent because of that. Is IBM doing anything special to bring back these women back to the workforce?
Yeah, I think good question, Chitra. I think women in our workforce and IBM are extremely critical, right? They bring a level of diversity that we value so much that we hate the idea of losing any one of them, actually. But in the cycle of life, and quite often too, when they look at extending their family, we lose women actually. right? Now, we do have a tech re-entry program that we have to try and bring women back into the workforce, bring women back into IBM. I remember a specific case in 2019 where we brought a woman back after a 10-year break, and she did extremely well in the IBM system thereafter, right? We do this every year. We're even doing it right now. Uh, we are using the WIT Career Fair as well to try and solicit and find women who would want to come back into the workforce. So if you are in the crowd, or if you are in the career fair, please put your hand up. We have shared a lot of job roles that we've got open out there, and any of those job roles, we'll be happy to have you and come and join us. Even if you believe there are skill gaps, come back and talk to us, because we do run reskilling and upskilling programs to help make you, bridge the gap that you may have had for a few years that you were away from the workforce. Because we value you. We really want the diversity to stay up. We very often find, as we have women, as we increase the years of experience that women have, we start losing, and we start, thinning out in diversity as we get to more senior bands and more senior positions. We want you guys back. So come back and talk to us, and we'll extend every possible help, because it's very, very critical, Chitra, to us, and you're aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anuj. Okay, so now the last panel question to Amita before I move to fun questions. So Amita, Santosh talked about bouncing back from setbacks. So you also talked about failures. So do you want to share any personal story about your failure and how you bounce back?
So, I strongly believe is, resilience is not what happens to you. It is, as Santosh said, how you bounce back, how you respond to, and what you learn from that lesson, right? So a personal story, I was always that eager beaver, wanted to advance my career, put my hand up for, every 2-3 years, that new thing, that comes up my way, an opportunity that I wouldn't want to miss, kind of a thing. And I did that. And it so happened that from an extended leadership program that I'd done, I had a chance to interact with a general manager at that point of time in IBM. And, she saw some value in, kind of positioning me for a certain role, okay, which was totally different from anything I had done before. I was totally in software side of the business. And here I was getting a chance to do the managed infra side of the business that I had no clue about, okay. As a fair warning, the country leader at that point of time told me, don't set yourself up for failure. You politely decline, this role. But I didn't want to. I was very heady with, that, this GM has, picked me for this role. I said, I want to do it. Okay. So, and I was due for a promotion at that point of time. There was a panel that was set up, and they, came back with the conclusion that, she doesn't know anything about, this side of the business. And, forget about the promotion, I should not even be getting that role. So neither did I get the promotion, nor did I get the role that the GM had actually asked me to do. But as a consolation prize, they sent me off to manage one very small center in one remote city in India that was not mainstream. And then they said, you manage this, and if these things work out, we will. So it's like, a double whammy, right? But anyway, at that point of time, I wondered what I should do. Should I refuse to go? And I had to go relocate myself from my base location to that place. So that is when I decided that, what can I bring in as a leader? I have no clue about managed infrastructure services, but I do know a thing or two about software architecture, right? So what can I do? So I found that every day there used to be this crit sits, so many people getting onto a bridge, and people saying, is it a server problem, is it a middleware problem, is it an app problem, is it this problem, that problem? And I found this is a regular phenomenon. So I just brought in my architectural knowledge to say, guys, let's look at this client. Let's look at what is this client all about. Why do these servers have to be up at this particular time? What are these SLAs? Why is it so important? And then, once we understood the client architecture, we found out which are those 23 applications that are most critical. And then, we started proactively monitoring those. And, everything else, was not that important from an SLA standpoint. And it was a small center. We were able to make it a nice buzzing place with a lot of good things happening and good practices. And I was able to turn around a situation, a negative situation, to something that put me in a better light. so that 1 year later, the same people that, were able to acknowledge that, yes, you have now learned, and, we can now, move you on to your next role. So that's an experience. I'm telling it in a very lighter note, but, it was definitely, an experience that I learned a lot from, including how I need to tone down my own, like I said, right, if you wait for someone to give you the job, somebody else will take it, kind of a thing. While I say that, one needs to have that level of preparation as well for the roles that you aspire for. And, that was a huge lesson for me. It was a setback and a failure, but, I had a chance to bounce back a year later.
Yeah, I think you did, right? So you actually took on a very different role and bounced back. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So Anuj, coming to you with some rapid fire questions. So we hear a lot about mentoring. Have you done any reverse mentoring where you have been mentored?
Yeah, we ran a program in 2019, Chitra. I think it was a pretty interesting program. I thought we were losing track of what's happening with the Gen Zs, the Gen Ys, because I think we were from the Gen X, right? And we had no idea of what makes the Gen Z tick, right? So I think we did run a reverse mentoring program. My mentor at that time was a youngster who did come and tell me a thing or two, more than a thing or two, on social interaction with the next generation. But I did do that. It was. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I'm missing that now that we've all gone remote. I somehow lost touch with that, but I think we're going to bring it back up. We were talking about it a few days ago as well. Phenomenal experience, actually.
I'm sure. Okay, so last question for you. What is your favorite song? You don't have to sing it, but just tell us a couple of lines.
Pyar Deewana Hota Hai, Mastana Hota Hai is kind of still my old good song, which is what it is.
Okay, great. So I'll move to Amita next. Amita, what is your leadership mantra?
My leadership mantra is to be authentic, say what you do and do what you say.
Great. Any specific role model that you have had?
I've had several. I think there have been several leaders that, I've, and, personalities, from sports and, media and others that I picked something from. So very difficult, Chitra, for me to name one role model, but growing up, I looked up with a lot of awe at Kiran Bedi, of how she would defy the system, how she would stand up for, what she believes in and, does things. I think that was the earliest time when I actually could say that I really looked up to, someone for that boldness that she, embodied.
Okay. What is your favorite food? Is it Hyderabadi biryani or idli sambar?
No, you'd be surprised. It's the humble moong dal khichdi, all-time comfort, food, and my favorite at any time.
Okay. So we move to AB. So AB, if you're not in this IT field, where would you have been?
I guess doing music somewhere.
Which you anyway do now.
Yeah, I don't do it the way I wanted to do. I mean, this is more like now fit gap. Right?
Chitra, you should not miss the studio right behind AB when we speak of this.
I can see that. Yeah. Okay. So AB, what keeps you going every morning?
I think I am a very curious guy, so it's more of insecurity, right? So when I hear something new that is happening, I immediately want to try it out. It's like playing a video game for me, right? So learning something new, right? So yeah, I mean, that is what keeps me going. If you ask me to do the same work again and again, maybe I'll retire.
Okay, what is your favorite movie?
Oh man, lot of movies. All time, one of the favorites, maybe I would have watched it 10 times, is Sholay, right? So that's one movie I watched several times.
Actually, that is my favorite as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I'll move to Santosh very quickly. So Santosh, when you are down, how do you bounce back?
So I think what I do is I go for long walks, and then I think that gives me time to reflect back and then just learn and just reflect what has happened. And it also kind of helps me cool down and take it very, very deliberately, the way things happen. Yes, that is what I would say.
Okay. Top 2 leadership skills.
I think one thing which I will certainly say about me is a sense of duty. with a very strong sense of duty, because if somebody has entrusted you with a particular task, then you have to see it through to end. Yeah, so that is one I would say. And the second thing I would say is teamwork, because that's very, very necessary in today's world. We talk about agile squad, we talk about everybody coming together from different skill sets, and I think without a team it is very difficult to succeed. So how does the manager empowers the team and inspires the team? That is very important on the management side. And how does the team take it and how do they do teamwork? That's very, very important.
Okay, so last question, your favorite getaway?
Goa.
You just went there.
Yeah, I go there once every alternate year. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so Goa is
Okay.
it's
Great.
quite lovely beaches.
Yeah, it does. So I think now we are at the end of the panel discussion. So I think it was a very, very insightful, frank, and authentic conversation where we not only learned about cloud, not only learned about what women should do, how they should network, grow, reskill, but we actually got to know the other side of these leaders as well. Thank you so much. And I hope the audience liked the session. And I hope this helps them in their cloud journey and their career journey as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.